he's off balance. That one where the sort of defender leans into you and sort of hits you in your hip just as you're about to head it usually takes you off balance. But the strength, the ability to sort of what would be rise and hang there a little bit under challenge, and then the technique to fire that past the goalkeeper is incredible.
I mean, you always talk about the headed goal he got in Rome, I think, for Manchester United. I mean, the goal that always stood out for me in terms of being in the air was one for Juventus at Sampdoria. It was very similar to that in terms of he's that high up. He's sitting on the defender's shoulders. And I can only go back to my own playing career. And people talk about when you get older, you lose your pace. I never had too much to lose, we know that. But the thing for me was I wasn't the tallest, so I had a decent spring. And the thing I found towards the end of my career was that wasn't there. That ability to actually get off the floor and win a header, and you just be a little bit short from where you could normally get. To be doing that at 37, to still have that type of spring, we know how well he looks after himself and that, but to get that high, certainly at that age, because that was something that I always felt was one of the things that went as I got older as a player.
The one player I remember as a young defender breaking into the first team that was probably about my size was Les Ferdinand. He was the best header of the ball from someone who had an unbelievable leap, a great technique, he had power in his heading, brilliant header of the ball, and he heads the ball like Les Ferdinand. Les Ferdinand was an English centre-forward, classic English centre-forward, and he heads it better than him. It's unbelievable that a player with that level of ability in his feet can also be that brilliant in the air.
There's something about players being good in the air that I love. I've always sort of players who've got great spring, I always think they've got something about them. They want to get up, the timing to get there. And you're talking about remembering Les Ferdinand. I'll never forget watching Gary Speed for the first time. Leeds played Everton, the first game of the season. They just come up Leeds. I didn't know the Leeds players too well, and Gary Speed. And every time the ball went long to Gary Speed, I've never seen anything like it. I'm thinking, who's this fella? First time I'd ever seen him. And it's always just stuck in my mind. Players like that who've got that spring from set piece, they've always got, for me, a personality and a character. They want to get up. They want to get there. They want to put the head in there.
Yeah. And to be fair, this morning I was like looking at sort of the headed goals. We know at Cristiano Ronaldo's goal-scoring record. We started to look at the last sort of 12, 13 years since we've had the sort of full statistics on it. And you look at some of those players in there, you know, Benteke, Dzeko, Giroud, obviously we know that have played in the Premier League, Benzema, Mandzukic, Cavani, Llorente, big 6'2", 6'3" centre-forwards. Players that you just think are going to go up and win balls from crosses and win balls from set pieces naturally. And he's the best. He's the best header of the ball in world football. You know, and it's absolutely staggering. His goal-scoring record is absolutely incredible. I mean, like I said, there's no other words for it. But that record there, to score 66 headed goals...
And that's not even as a centre-forward, is it? A lot of the time he's wide.
As a wide player, over 13 years, an average of sort of 0.16 per game, which is higher than what would be 6'2", 3 traditional centre-forwards who are good in the air, is as good an achievement in itself as the overall achievement, because it's such a speciality.
Very special player. We've enjoyed having him in the Premier League. Where do you think his story ends, Ronaldo? Here in Manchester or elsewhere?
It wouldn't surprise me if he carried on playing until he was 40. We saw Tom Brady come out of retirement yesterday, and obviously that idea of...
After talking to Ronaldo.
Yeah, and one of the great things of these players is longevity is so important to them. The idea that they can go on longer and further and still play at the highest level. You look at the clubs he's played for, the leagues he's played in, the way in which he's actually, to be fair, demonstrated his skill all over Europe and the world. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was another story beyond Manchester. Because
do you think he'd ever go to sort? You're talking about playing at the highest level. Do you think he'd ever go to sort of Qatar, the MLS,
no.
into Miami?
I don't see. I don't. Look, I might be completely wrong. He may go to America at some point in the next sort of 3-4 years, but I doubt it, because I think he wants his goals to be in the toughest leagues, maybe back in the Portuguese league at 38, I don't know. Maybe there's a story back home for him at Sporting Lisbon that he feels like that would be the right place to end, because obviously he loves his country. But I think I can see him playing in the top leagues for another 2 or 3 years, because I think he wants... It wouldn't surprise me he wants to get to 1,000 goals.
Do you think he'll get more goals than Pele?
This Pele figure. This Pele figure that... Yeah. So, You've got a theory on that, haven't you? On the
Yeah,
Pele?
I mean, I mentioned something in the meeting today. I said Pele's a bit of a myth. I'm not having this 1,000 goals. So that went down well, calling Pele a myth.
Pele's a myth. There's a headline for tomorrow. I think we'll leave it there.